Good afternoon, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. This is Rich again, back for your second video blog of the day for Tuesday, November 3rd, 2015, around 4:45 in the afternoon. The sun is going down right now in Billerica, Massachusetts, but it's been a great day in the 60s and stuff. Nice Indian summer day, and it's a nice stretch of weather for the next several days with 60s and 70s. Wish this would be year-round in this area, but it's not going to be. Some news to report. The Philadelphia Eagles offered their quarterback, Sam Bradford, a contract extension averaging $18.5 million a year, but Sam Bradford refused a contract extension because he wants more money. And the Philadelphia Phillies also announced that they have officially cut ties with Cliff Lee, giving him $12.5 million as a going-away present. That's a lot of money. Cliff Lee's not going to pitch in the major leagues again because he has a bad elbow. And Toronto Maple Leafs coach Mike Babcock is going to coach Team Canada in the World Cup of Hockey in 2016. And the Washington Nationals officially announced that Bud Black refused their contract to manage the team 1 year. He didn't like that, so they named another manager, Dusty Baker, to take over. Dusty Baker's probably going to be the only African-American manager in Major League Baseball in 2016, unless if the LA Dodgers hire an African-American manager and stuff. And that's about it on the news. My second video blog subject of the day is about the state of Minnesota. Minnesota's located in the Midwest part of the United States. It's the northernmost state in the U.S., besides Alaska. It's the only state that's north of the 49th parallel. That's usually the 49th parallel is Canada, so that's the only state that's in the 49th parallel. Minnesota was admitted as the 32nd state in the Union in 1858, and it's the 12th largest state size-wise, and it's 21st in population, with approximately 5.4 million people living in Minnesota. Minnesota is known as the land of 10,000 lakes. This is no exaggeration, my friends. Legitimately, there's more than 10,000 lakes in Minnesota. There's approximately about 15,231 of them in Minnesota. Plus, they have plus the biggest lake in Minnesota is Lake Superior, which is like part of the Great Lakes. And there's so many rivers in Minnesota. The Mississippi River runs through Minnesota and stuff like that. Minnesota has a lot of big cities, including the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, and St. Paul, which is the capital of Minnesota. And Minneapolis-St. Paul is the 15th largest metropolitan market in the United States, and also television market and stuff. Minnesota has a lot of great outdoor stuff to do in the summer months. A lot of Minnesotans go fishing. About 36% of the population of Minnesota usually fish, plus they go canoeing and like hunting and other stuff during summer months in Minnesota, which is very, very nice. And Minnesota could get real hot in summertime, like 80s, 90s, 100s and stuff with summertime heat. But during the winter months, it could get brutally cold. Meaning there's several days in Minnesota during the winter months you need to be bundled up, because there's sometimes the daytime high temperatures do not reach zero. I'm not making this up. It's a lot of temperatures below zero. The record for the coldest temperature in Minnesota happened in 1996 when the mercury dropped to 60 below. That's a fact, Jack, and that's a fact. There's some great things in Minnesota, some attractions. The Mall of America, which is located in Bloomington, Minnesota, that's the biggest mall in America. That's where the old Metropolitan Stadium used to be for the Minnesota Twins and the Minnesota Vikings. And also, the United States Hockey Hall of Fame is located in Minnesota. One of the nicknames for Minnesota is the state of hockey because hockey in Minnesota is popular, especially high school hockey and stuff. And there's a lot of college teams that play in Minnesota. And there's also the Minnesota Wild hockey team that's been around 15 years before. They had the Minnesota North Stars from 1967 through 1993. Minnesota's also known as a sports state. Besides the Minnesota Wild, there is the Minnesota Twins baseball team, which started in 1961. They actually moved from Washington, D.C., and they've been playing in Minnesota for 55 years. They've had some great players over the years. Rod Carew, Harmon Killebrew, Tony Olive, Kirby Puckett, Kent Herbeck, Bert Blyleven, Frank Viola, Rick Aguilera, Johan Santana, Torrey Hunter, and so many others. They won a lot of them Western Division Championships, Central Division Championships, made a few ALCSs, and they won 2 World Series in 1987 and 1991. For many years, they played the games at the Metropolitan Stadium, and then the Metrodome, and now they play at Target Field. After success, the Minnesota Vikings, which came into the NFL in 1961, has had a lot of success. They were like a great team in the 60s and 70s. They were nicknamed the Purple Eaters, winning a lot of NFC championships. But when they made it to the Super Bowl, they just, they did not win. They are 0-4 in Super Bowls. They've had some great players over the years, like Fran Tarkenton, Chris Carter, Randy Moss, and a lot of others. Another team that plays in Minnesota, the basketball team, the Minnesota Timberwolves, that's been in existence since 1989. The first year they played at the Metrodome, and since 1990, they played at the Target Arena, the Target Center. And they've had limited success since they've been in the NBA. They've only won 2 playoff series. That was in 2004, and they made the playoffs 8 straight years, but they always would get bounced in the first round. But they had Kevin Garnett most of the time, and he was one of the best players in NBA history. And they've had some supporting members like Stephon Marbury, Kevin Love, and a few others, but the past 11 years they have not made the playoffs. But maybe in the near future they will, because they're building a team and stuff that is pretty good. The Minnesota was actually home to the Minneapolis Lakers, for many, many years, from the 1940s to the 1960s and stuff. Also, Minnesota has had a lot of entertainers over the years, including the Andrews Sisters, singers. Also, Prince was born in Minnesota. Actors and actresses who were born in Minnesota included Lonnie Anderson of WKRP and Cincinnati fame, Richard Dean Anderson, MacGyver, and Stargate 1 HGH, James Arnaz, who was Marshall Dillon on Gunsmoke, Jessica Biel, Rachel Lee Cook, Vince Vaughn, and so many other actors and actresses were born in Minnesota and stuff. The classic TV series sitcom, The Mary Tyler Moore Show, was based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, but it was actually filmed in Hollywood from 1970 through 1977. They have some great television stations in Minnesota, especially Minneapolis, Minnesota, which a couple of them, WCCO, TV4, which is owned and operated by CBS, also KSP Channel 5, that's an ABC affiliate, and Fox 9 in Minneapolis, St. Paul, Fox owned and operated, and KRE, which is the NBC affiliate, Channel 11. Those were the major television stations in Minneapolis, St. Paul. And they've had a couple of personalities who worked for Minneapolis stations that actually worked in Boston at one time. There was Dawn Mitchell, who works for Fox 9 in Minneapolis, St. Paul, the sports anchor reporter. She worked years ago in Boston on Nesson. And Chicago Wingler, who worked for the KSP Channel 5, a meteorologist for a few years, actually worked for WHDH Channel 7 in Boston for several years as a meteorologist in the early to mid 2000s. And Christine Claiborne, who's a meteorologist for WCCO TV4, worked for WHDH TV Channel 7 in Boston for about 2 years and stuff. And also Minnesota has a couple of major interstates that go by. I-35 that runs north-south throughout the state, I-94, and I-90. I-90 it goes west to east. I-90, if you're in Massachusetts, is part of the Massachusetts Turnpikes and stuff like that. And also, Minnesota has one of the senators is Al Franklin, who was one time an actor and comedian from 1999 through 2003. The governor of Minnesota was Jesse the Body Ventura, who was formerly a professional wrestler, and at one time the territory, the American Wrestling Association, was based out of Minnesota. It was run by Vern Gagne for about 30 years, from 1960 through 1990. The AWA was one of the top regional territories in professional wrestling and stuff like that. I've never been to Minnesota yet, but one of these days I would love to go to Minnesota, because I hear it's a very nice state to visit and stuff. And if I ever visit there, I'd probably go to Minneapolis, St. Paul, maybe see the Mall of America, and gotta see the United States Hockey Hall of Fame, because it's a great place to visit and stuff. And approximately 70% of Minnesotans are either of German descent or Scandinavian descent, which includes Norway, Sweden, and Finland and stuff. That's an amazing stat. And that's about it on Minnesota. And that's about it for right now. I'll be back for the third and final video blog of the night, which will be about the personality profile. Tonight, the personality profile will be about former New York Yankees shortstop and baseball announcer for NBC Sports, Tony Kubek. Like I always say, keep calm. And I'm a Julie Button guy. Molly Rosenblatt on Fox 35 Rocks and has nice legs. She's a native Minnesotan. And Elizabeth Hart's So Stunning. And in the words of Sean Lucha, get out! See you later. Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Bye now.